Imagine being fined for not inviting enough people to your wedding or being forced to marry on an exact date because of your horoscope. Sounds insane, right? But in parts of Asia, that's completely normal. Today, we're diving into Asia's wildest wedding rules, the ones that'll make zero sense unless you grew up in them. Some of these traditions are so intense, they might actually be illegal in other countries. If you're into strange laws, hidden cultures, and love stories that challenge logic, hit subscribe because this rabbit hole only gets deeper. Let's start in Bangladesh, where hosting a small wedding could actually shame your family. In some rural areas, it's expected you invite the whole village, even if you barely know half of them. Why? Because a wedding isn't just about two people. It's a public display of wealth, status, and respect. If you skip it, locals might think your family's been cursed, or worse, that you're just cheap. In Bangladesh, weddings are not just personal milestones. They are major social events that reflect a family's status, honor, and reputation. The expectation to host large, elaborate celebrations is deeply ingrained in the culture, and deviating from this norm by arranging a small or modest wedding can lead to social scrutiny or even shame for the family. Weddings are seen as opportunities to showcase a family's wealth and social standing. Grand ceremonies with hundreds or even thousands of guests are common, and anything less can be perceived as a sign of financial struggle or lack of social connections. Traditional rituals and customs, such as multi-day celebrations with elaborate meals and gifts, are expected. Skipping or minimizing these can invite criticism from relatives and the community. Families often feel compelled to go into debt to meet these expectations. There are reports of middle-class families borrowing large sums to fund extravagant weddings, fearing that a modest event would lead to gossip or loss of respect. In many regions, the bride's family is expected to host the main events and provide generous gifts to the groom's side. Failing to meet these expectations can result in the bride's family being looked down upon or ostracized. While some individuals have tried to break stereotypes, such as brides choosing simple attire or minimal makeup, these choices often spark backlash from family members who fear social embarrassment or loss of face. Families who host small or simple weddings may find themselves excluded from community events or subject to gossip. The pressure to conform can cause significant stress for both the couple and their families, sometimes overshadowing the joy of the occasion. Many families take on substantial debt to avoid the stigma associated with small weddings, prioritizing social acceptance over financial security. Some young people and progressive families are pushing back against these expectations, advocating for simpler, more meaningful celebrations. However, such efforts often face resistance from older generations and the wider community. Social media has become a platform for discussing and challenging wedding norms, but change remains slow due to the deeply rooted nature of these traditions. In summary, in Bangladesh, the size and grandeur of a wedding are closely tied to a family's social image. Hosting a small wedding is often seen as a failure to uphold family honor, leading to potential shame and social repercussions. But what happens if you don't follow through? Stick around, because one couple paid the ultimate price for keeping things low-key. Now let's head to Thailand, where your birth date can actually dictate your wedding day. It's called auspicious dating, a practice where monks or astrologers pick the luckiest time to marry. Sounds romantic? Not always. If the monk says the best time is Tuesday at 4 a.m., you're getting married in pajamas or you're cursed with bad luck. In Thailand, the selection of a wedding day is a deeply meaningful process, often guided by ancient traditions and spiritual beliefs. Unlike in many Western cultures where couples might choose a date based on convenience or personal preference, Thai couples frequently consult monks, astrologers, or fortune tellers to determine the most auspicious day for their marriage. The birth dates and times of both the bride and groom are carefully analyzed. Astrologers or monks use these details, along with the lunar calendar, to calculate which days will bring the couple the most harmony, prosperity, and good fortune. Thai culture places significance on certain numbers, with the number 9 considered especially lucky. Couples often prefer wedding dates or times that include this number, as it is believed to symbolize progress and prosperity. The phases of the moon and zodiac signs also play a role in determining which days are favorable for a wedding. The goal is to avoid inauspicious dates and ensure a smooth, happy union. Couples or their families typically consult a Buddhist monk or a professional astrologer. These experts review the couple's birth information and suggest the best possible dates for the ceremony. Choosing the wedding date is often a family affair, reflecting the importance of harmony and consensus in Thai society. The belief is that starting married life on a day aligned with positive spiritual energies will bring long-lasting happiness and stability to the couple. The wedding ceremony itself may begin at a specific, auspicious time of day, such as 9:09 a.m., to further enhance luck and prosperity. Example: steps to determine a tie. 1. Wedding date. Gather the birth dates and times of both partners. 2. Consult a monk, astrologer, or fortune teller specializing in Thai astrology. 3. Review the lunar calendar and numerological factors. 4. Select the most auspicious date and time based on the expert's advice. 5. Inform family and begin wedding preparations. In summary, in Thailand, your birth date is far more than a personal milestone. It is a key factor in one of life's most important decisions, your wedding day. This tradition reflects a broader Thai belief in the interconnectedness of fate, spirituality, and family. And that couple in Bangladesh, they picked a private wedding on the wrong lunar day. The elders refused to recognize the marriage, and the entire village boycotted them. But that's nothing compared to this next place, where your wedding budget could land you in prison. Yep, prison. In India, some states have tried to stop excessive spending by legally limiting the number of guests and how much gold a bride can wear. India has seen various proposals and some implementation of legal measures to curb excessive spending on weddings, particularly focusing on the number of guests and the amount of gold jewelry a bride can wear. These efforts have been driven by concerns over social pressure, financial strain on families, and the ostentatious display of wealth. Several Indian states have imposed restrictions on the number of wedding guests, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. For example, Maharashtra, only 50 people allowed at a wedding. Uttar Pradesh, 100 people for indoor weddings, 50% capacity for outdoor venues. Rajasthan, 100 people with special permission required for more. Karnataka, 200 for outdoor, 100 for indoor weddings. Kerala, 150 for outdoor, 75 for indoor weddings. Bills introduced in the Lok Sabha have sought to legally cap wedding guests, sometimes at 50, and limit the number of dishes served to prevent wasteful expenditure. In some states, exceeding the guest limit can result in fines or other penalties, and organizers may need to seek special permission for larger gatherings. In Kerala, a panel recommended a legal cap of 80 grams of gold jewelry for brides, aiming to limit the influence of lavish displays and reduce social pressure on poorer families. The same proposal suggested a guest limit of 200 and caps on other wedding expenses, such as bridal attire and venue costs. Organizations like the Nair Service Society, SES, have called for the government to fix a limit on the gold and valuables a bride can wear, proposing that anything above this should be considered dowry and regulated under the Dowry Prohibition Act. Nationally, there is no direct law capping the amount of gold a bride can wear at her wedding. However, tax authorities have guidelines for gold possession. Married women, up to 500 grams. Unmarried women, up to 250 grams. Men, up to 100 grams. These limits are for tax assessment and seizure during raids, not specifically for weddings, and do not apply if the gold is purchased from disclosed income or inherited. Multiple private member bills have been introduced to cap wedding spending, limit guests, and require families spending above a certain threshold, e.g., 5 Indian rupees lakh, to contribute a portion to a welfare fund for underprivileged girls' weddings. The main goal is to reduce the social pressure on families to spend beyond their means and to discourage ostentatious displays that can lead to financial hardship, especially for the bride's family. While some Indian states and community organizations have proposed or temporarily enforced limits on wedding guests and gold jewelry, Most measures remain guidelines or proposals rather than permanent, universally enforced laws. The broader intent is to reduce social and financial pressures associated with extravagant weddings, though implementation and enforcement vary significantly across regions. Go over the limit, you could get fined or even investigated for black money laundering. Yes, your grandma's gold bangles might just make you a suspect, but not all traditions are about more. In one village, there's a rule that forbids any music at weddings, ever. Let's talk about that. In parts of China's rural Hebei province, certain communities follow a rule that bans music and dancing at weddings if a family member died in the same year. It's a sign of respect, but it leads to this eerie, quiet ceremony where people just sit and eat. No music, no dancing, no laughter. Recent years have seen campaigns by provincial and national authorities to regulate costly or unhealthy rural customs, including those related to weddings and funerals. These efforts often encourage frugality and discourage excessive displays, but they also call for respect toward local traditions. In some districts of Hebei, villagers collectively set standards for wedding and funeral conduct, which can include rules about music, dancing, and the scale of celebrations, especially during periods of mourning. This blend of tradition and evolving regulation continues to shape the way significant life events are marked in rural Hebei, with deep respect for both the living and the deceased. To outsiders, it may seem depressing, but to locals, it's a blend of mourning and celebration, honoring both life and loss. But wait, did you know some weddings require the bride to cry for days before the actual ceremony? In Sichuan, China, brides are expected to cry for a full month before their wedding. It's called zwitang, or sitting in the hall, a custom where she weeps daily, joined by her mother, grandmother, and even aunts. Each tear is a sign of love, sorrow, and letting go. And if you don't cry, the village whispers, she must not love him enough. It's not about sadness. It's a ritual of bonding, of honoring generations, of holding space for change. The ritual begins about a month before the wedding. The bride is the central figure, joined sequentially by her mother, grandmother, and other female relatives such as aunts and sisters. Each night, the bride enters the hall and weeps for about an hour. After 10 days, her mother joins her in the crying. Another 10 days later, the grandmother joins in. Eventually, all female relatives participate, creating a chorus of lamentation. Traditionally, the crying is both a ritualized expression of sorrow at leaving one's family and a display of gratitude and respect for relatives and ancestors. In the past, a bride who did not cry was seen as lacking proper upbringing or filial piety. Neighbors might ridicule her, and in some cases, she could even be scolded or punished by her family for failing to perform the ritual adequately. The ability to cry well, often through special crying marriage songs, was considered a sign of intelligence and virtue. Young girls sometimes practiced these songs in preparation for their future weddings. The custom is believed to date back to the Warring States period, 475 to 221 BC, inspired by the story of a princess whose mother wept as she left to marry into another state. Over time, this act of maternal sorrow evolved into a formalized pre-wedding ritual. While not as widespread as in the past, zwitang is still observed in some rural areas and among Tujia communities. Today, it is often seen as a way to honor tradition and strengthen family bonds, rather than a genuine expression of grief over an arranged marriage. The ritual often involves singing, with lyrics expressing sorrow, gratitude, and hopes for the future. In some communities, the event is a festive gathering, with the exaggerated crying serving to enhance the celebratory atmosphere. Zwitang remains a fascinating example of how marriage customs can reflect deeper values of family, emotion, and cultural identity in Chinese society. So, from crying brides to prison-worthy weddings, Asia's marriage traditions are deeply rooted in culture, identity, and respect. They may not make sense to us, but they mean everything to those who live them. If this blew your mind, even just a little, hit that subscribe button. We're just getting started. Next time, we're diving into the love stories that were banned by governments. Yes, actual people jailed for falling in love. You won't want to miss that.